According to the social penetration theory, when two people are in a conversation and are communicating together, those topics will always start off as superficial topics, and then it'll make its way more personal as they start to build more trust amongst each other in that conversation and have positive interactions. If there isn't positive interactions, the topics will still stay more superficial. So a good example of like positive small talk is, for example, I'm walking down the street looking for food, and then there's food vendors out there, so I might walk up to a line and be like, hey, how's it going? And they'd be like, doing good. And I'd ask, is this the line for hot dogs, for example? And they would be like, yeah, it is. I'd be like, wonderful. And then I might crack a joke or something like, oh, hopefully I'm not waiting 2 years for this. How long have you been waiting in line? And they'd be like, oh, only for about 5 minutes. It has been moving fairly quick. I'd be like, oh, that's great. I'm starving. I could eat a whole elephant right now. They may chuckle a little bit. And then if they seem more kind of positive and like happy about our interaction, I may notice this Nebraska on their shirt. I'm like, oh, I love this shirt. That is a wonderful shirt. And I could say even, I love Nebraska. And be like, oh, that's awesome. I actually love Nebraska as well. I played football for their football team. I'd be like, no way. I actually played college football myself, except I played in Chadron, which is in Nebraska as well. And then they're like, oh, no way. I'm actually from Omaha. And then we could start kind of talking about things about Nebraska, for example. But then we wouldn't want to get too personal, because if you get too personal too quickly, that may kind of defeat us trusting each other. It'll kind of skip ahead that trust phase, and that'll make people back up more, just because you don't want to dive into personal topics when you don't know each other and that trust hasn't been built. A bad example of what small talk interaction would be like is, for example, same scenario. I'm walking up to a line, like, hey, how's it going? Is this the line for the hot dogs? And they'll be like, yeah. And then I'd be like, oh, I love this shirt right off the bat without kind of breaking the ice first. I'd be like, I love Nebraska. I'm from Nebraska. Are you from Nebraska as well? They'd be like, yeah, I am from Nebraska. I'd be like, cool. What city are you from? Then they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm from Omaha. And I'm like, oh, I actually know a park in Omaha. Where have you ever went to this specific park in this neighborhood? Like, what neighborhood are you in? Now that's getting a little bit too personal, trying to find out a little bit too much about where this person resides. That is definitely a soft subject and a touchy subject that you want to avoid when you don't know someone. You don't want to give someone out you don't want to give someone your personal details. And so that would be the difference between having a good interaction with small talk and a bad interaction with self-talk. In the book, I know it talks about self-disclose, and you need to be careful about how much you self-disclose about yourself, because like I said earlier, if you jump straight from not knowing each other to jumping into personal questions, that's going to defeat the purpose of building a meaningful connection and having a positive communication. So you definitely want to self-disclose as little as possible in the beginning while you're building that trust phase, and then you can start, disclosing more about yourself after you've built up that after you've built up that trust and communication. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to make an apology to someone, the first thing you should do is self-reflect. So when you self-reflect, this gives you the chance to analyze the events that happened and then make any adjustments to where your shortcomings were. And when you do this, this actually adds a lot of value to your apology, because people will see the positive intentions you've had behind thinking of how to rectify this relationship and what you can do to better yourself moving forward. And so a good example of what an apology would look like is, for example, if you're on the playground and you'd apologize for pushing someone on the ground. So you'd say, hey, Amanda, I'm really sorry for pushing you on the ground and hurting your knee today. That is totally not how I want to be. Honestly, the only reason I act like that is because I wanted to show off to my friends, and realizing that I hurt you in the process of doing that made me feel really bad about myself. And I just can't stop thinking about how much I hurt you and how much I want to apologize. So I am really sorry, Amanda, for hurting you and pushing you down. I actually think you're a really awesome person, and hopefully we can be friends after this, because I've actually really wanted you as a friend. And so I just think you're a really fun person to be around. So if you can for me, that would be awesome. And if you can't, I totally get it. I just want to let you know that I'm truly sorry for hurting you. And I want to do everything I can in the future to not hurt you. And if I ever do seem rude to you in any way moving forward, please let me know. And I will do my best to change my behavior because I really like you as a person. And so that would be a really positive apology, just because it shows the thought of that you put behind the reason why you even acted the way you did, for example, showing off to your friends. And then it also gets more personal, kind of self-disclosing that, which gives you in kind of that intimate space when you are apologizing, and people will appreciate that. So when you just self-disclose how it made you feel personally and how you don't want to be that type of person, that shows her that you put more thought into it. And then also adding on that you think she's a really awesome person, that you actually want to get to know her, that shows even more vulnerability that people kind of look for when they're listening to an apology. So that's a good way to do it. A bad way to do it is to really not self-reflect, and it's more of just a reaction of apologizing. So for example, pushing her down on the at the playground. So, hi Amanda, I'm sorry for pushing you down on the playground. Honestly, I kind of thought it was, fun to do it with my friends, and then I realized that I hurt you, so I'm sorry. That's that's kind of all I have. I'm sorry for pushing you down. And so just leaving it really short like that doesn't really give much thought into that apology. It shows her that you're just apologizing because you might be in trouble, or just someone told you to do it. So it doesn't sound genuine if you don't go deep enough and you only kind of leave it at that superficial level where it's just, hey, I'm sorry, and that's it. You want to give a deeper context to the reason why you're apologizing. And that is a perfect example of what not to do when you apologize, because it doesn't go deep. So I hope this helps. So, how to give a compliment to someone. The good news here is when giving compliments, everyone wants to be shown affection, and they want to be shown that they're appreciated across all different ages and cultures in the world. We just want to be recognized and feel like we belong in the world, in our community, just where we exist. And so giving compliments can help, boost people's days. Excuse me. So what you want to be careful of, though, and this is the example I'm going to provide in this video, is you need to be careful of racial and ethnic identities, just because different cultures will react to different messages because they view things differently. So the best example I could provide for this is, since I'm African American, let's say I'm talking to another African American lady in the South, and I want to, give her a compliment. So I might whistle at her and be like, "You're looking good, shawty. You're looking like a snack. Oh my goodness. I wish for you to be my queen. Oh my goodness, you are beautiful." And so giving compliments and kind of saying lingo of that nature, with calling them a snack, calling them shoddy, cat calling them, is all kind of different cultural cues within the Black community. And so it's more accepted there. I wouldn't say that's the best way to give a compliment, but I do know a lot of ladies who respond to a compliment such as that, just because they're seeing the guy express their words in different ways, and telling them that they look good in different ways. Some people like that in that culture. But if you were to take that same lingo and, let's say, talk to a lady in North Korea or China, it's not going to go the way you'd like it to. You would get a lot of bad looks, and you would be looked down upon in that population if you were speaking to women that way, just because they're a lot more modest and reserved. And so a better compliment in regard to, if you're talking to a lady from North Korea or China who has a different ethnic background, is you could be like, "Hey, I've seen you get coffee here every day. Like, hi, my name's Brad. It's finally nice to meet you." Like, "Hey, nice to meet you as well." And be like, you always look really nice every day." And so just that is just saying that and taking it no further is basically kind of how they would communicate in their language or in their culture, just because they don't want to be too pushy and too personal into the lady's life. They just want to let them know they look good and that's it. And so that's just a different couple ways how you can communicate in a good way, or giving a compliment in a good way, and then also giving a compliment in a bad way, especially when there are different cultures involved. So, believe it or not, there is actually a right or a wrong way to receive a compliment, and I'm going to provide both of those examples for you. So, the right way to receive a compliment is, for example, someone is commenting on a presentation. So, they'll be like, "Hey, Brad, you had such an awesome presentation. The information was so clear to understand, and I loved all the graphics that you added on the presentation to tie everything together. I learned so much." And then a good way for me to receive this would be like, "Thank you so much, Carl. I actually put a lot of effort into making this presentation. I looked at the information and found information about what everyone kind of wanted to learn about, and I condensed it all into this presentation so I could speak to kind of everyone's interest." And so I think that's what really made it a great presentation. Then I also had some help from my mom, who is great with picking photos. So if you ever need someone to grab photos for you, let me know and I can grab her for you. So that's a really positive way to receive that interaction, because it's not too much and I'm oversharing, and it's not too little information where I'm undersharing, and they show that, and it shows them that I'm not that interested in talking to them. And so a bad way to receive a compliment is, "Hey, Brad, you had an amazing presentation, love the information, and I love the photos, everything was great." And so then I would be like, "Oh, thank you so much. I actually really didn't put any effort into it. I just kind of threw it together." And so just seeing the different words used in that conversation and seeing that interaction there will actually show that I'm not interested in talking to this person. And that doesn't give them a window for me to be more personal and that I'm opening up. It actually shows that I'm kind of closing off to them. So kind of going back to creating that small talk, is that will make the more a superficial topic, and it'll kind of distance ourselves from each other, versus if I open up more and kind of bring in how I did with, like, my mom actually helped with the graphics. That's more personal information, and so it makes us have a more intimate connection in that, and communication interaction. So that would be the different ways on a good way and a bad way to receive a compliment.